I was always perfectionist. I think you're always hoping that everything goes great. And I was in a relationship before, and I was young. I was in that, and and everything else. And then all of a sudden I'm single, and I'm like, man, I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm single for a while. I had a whole plan, Mel. I was like, I'm gonna be single for like 10 years. C came and just changed everything. But she done changed everything. Like a year into it, and I just remember, being before I met C, like, God, what do I really want?
Yeah.
Like, what do I really? I remember 3 days before I met C, I remember being in my being at church with my Pastor Judah, and I was talking to him, and he said something in a sermon. He said non-negotiables, and it had nothing to do with relationships. He was just talking about non-negotiables. He said the word non-negotiables, and I remember going to dinner with him afterwards, and I said, Judah, you said something in your sermon. I was like, it hit me, and he was like, what's that? You said non-negotiables, he said, yeah. I said, but I feel like marriage, life, everything else, like when you're trying to be with somebody, like I feel like marriage is like you got to have non-negotiables. It's like a business. It's like a business deal. Not to be cold, but it's like we're gonna be partners for life. Like we're gonna do this. Like you got to have your non-negotiables. He said, okay, I like that. I said, I feel like in every business deal you got to have your non-negotiables. I said, let's write down 5 non-negotiables. I remember saying this at the steakhouse, and I said, let's get a napkin. I got the little napkin. I said, I'm gonna write my 5 non-negotiables down. He said, okay, what are they? And he said, why 5? I said, 5 is the number of grace. It means grace in the Bible, right? In marriage, life, you got to have grace for one another. So I'm going to write 5 of them. The first one was this. The first one was, I want a woman that of great faith. She's got like just great faith. She's a believer. That was important to me because, believing in Jesus, all that meant a lot to me. That's number one thing. Number 2 was I want a woman who is faithful, not just to me, but to everything that she does, like to anything and everything that she does. The third thing is I want a woman that was going to love me the way my mom loved my dad, right? Like just how my mom, when my dad was on his deathbed, just like she was willing to do anything and everything for us and for him. And I think that like you want a woman that's got grit, that's going to be there when it's thick, when it's tough, when it's hard,
right.
and things aren't going well, whatever it may be in life, when my dad has his leg amputated or whatever it may be. I think the other thing was I wanted a woman who was independent. Didn't have to be Ciara, but like had the right identity, wanted to, volunteer, wanted to be a doctor, wanted to be whatever it is. But at the end of the day, like had their own identity, didn't want to just be Russell's wife, but just like had their own identity of what they wanted to be and create and do in life. And I think the last thing is that I wanted a woman who would tilt the room. Like when they walk in the room, all the furniture slides her way. You know what I mean? Like everything slides her way.
That's a cold bar right there. That's a cold bar. I ain't gonna hold you.
And so for me, like I just remember that. I wrote that down. We prayed over it. And 3 days later, I met C.
That's crazy.
And
that's beautiful.
And
that was 6 things. So the 6
that was
things.
5. That was 5.
He said the last 2 was 1. 2 for 1.
You sipping on that tea over there, but like but for me, like those are the 2 pivotal moments in my life, and just having children has been like, man, it's been so cool. Just it really shows you what love is, just to be able to love kids and just do that.
You talked about your non-negotiables with your life partner, with your wife Ciara, and obviously y'all relationship is goals to people, and y'all relationship obviously is something that you wear so proudly everywhere you go, and we could always talk about everything that she means to you, but how do you show up for her every day? I feel like people just see the quote unquote football wife, and it's like all the things she has to be for you. On the flip, you already talked about how much you've had to sacrifice as far as time and preparation and being present, all that type of stuff. How do you show up for her? How was that work on the flip side, especially knowing how independent she is? How she was Ciara before you met her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like,
man, first of all, I think Ciara's greatness is one of a kind. There's really no one like her. Obviously there's Beyonce, Rihanna, special people, and C, I think she's got the heart of gold, man. She has a unique ability to impact a room. Like I said, being a light in the room. Like I thought I was good with people. Like I thought I was like, I'm pretty damn good with people. You know what I mean? She is amazing. Like how she walks in a room and how she brings joy and peace and love to every situation. She never blinks. Like she, you know, people may have said something wrong about her, done something wrong. She just walks with grace, walks with love. Like I just think how she handles things is pure. She's the purest person I know. And so I think the best part about it too, though, is that like how I try to be there for her, which really she's her own boss, she's her own CEO, own leader and everything else. But man, we just get to do a lot of things together, business, life, being a partner. You know, like she's super busy. She's in Cannes right now, France right now. Like she's busy going back and forth and this and that. Like, hey, what can I do for the kids? What can I do here? What can I do? What responsibilities can I take? And then like for me, like I'm more of like, we have a good like dynamic because like she's like really tender with the kids. I am too, but I'm like, when I say no, it's no. When I say yes, it's yes. Like there's no, we ain't doing it. She'll call me and be like,
the buck
hey,
stops
babe.
with you.
Yeah,
Non-negotiable.
She'll call me like, babe, I need you to talk to Win. I'm like, I got it. Yeah, you know, but part of it though is that like what I want to always be for her is just a safe place to talk to, a safe place to be. You know, I think, you know, I always want her to know the best place in the world is in my arms. You know what I mean? And so I think a big part of that is just always just trying to do love really well. I think part of like the love dynamic and everything else is like, there's two things I believe, right? Like number one is like, I think the first thing is you got to keep competing. You know, when you first meet somebody, you're willing to compete every day. Like, oh, I'm gonna get the girl.
The honeymoon phase.
Yeah. But like you're willing to do the flowers, this, the that. You're gonna keep competing, right? But like you want to just make sure you're at your best, you know, for them daily. The eye contact, the ability to sit at dinner and be like, I'm put my phone down. Just when we're here on date night, like we have a date night, we have a plan, like right. So like, hey, every Friday we're gonna do date night. Right. So like we're planning on that. Like, okay, if she's busy because she's so busy traveling the world or whatever, it's like, okay, let's make that Friday a Monday. Right. Let's move it and shift it. And I think that dialogue and communication is really important to me to keep competing in terms of communication and planning. I think the second piece to it though is, and this is a fundamental thing I really believe, is that the act of continual surprise.
Yeah.
Like the small things, right? Like, I think to be able to surprise her with flowers here, or to write a note to her, or to show up on set when she's thinking, there's no way he's going to be able to get here in time, you know, and there's no way he's not going to be able to do it. But like, you know, I may have shifted my morning to do treatment earlier so I can know I don't have to do it in the afternoon or whatever it may be so I can get there. So like those little subtleties I think are really critical. But I just want to always be an open ear and open heart, you know, to everything her, you know, and so that's the cool part.
Take notes, fellas. He's giving you some great advice right
You asked that question for a reason.
I did.
What you got going on, man?
Let me get out the doghouse real quick. Let me see what Russ is going to tell me.
You was taking notes to that.
I was like, where? I was like, yeah, man, got some great advice right here.